everybody should have out their grammar notebooks open to a clean page. And you should all have your verb tense anchor charts. Now they don't have the title on them, I just realized. So you need to add the title, verb tense, to the bottom. Remember, it's a title, so what happens to the first letter of both words, Zadie?
They get capitalized.
They get capitalized, and then if you need to make this note to yourself, we see ROS on all three boxes. ROS just means rest of sentence. That's what it stands for. We're going to look at this after we, we're going to look at this right before we do the guided practice. Okay? We'll watch our video, then we'll write our notes, then we'll look at this really quick, then we'll do our guided practice. Okay, Zadie, please turn off the lights.
Verb tenses. Verb tenses depend on when the action takes place. So, what are the verb tenses? There are 3 verb tenses: past, present, and future tense. Past tense means it already happened. When I want to write a verb in the past tense, I add ed. But not all verbs follow that rule. She walked to the park. We added ed to the verb walk to show that it happened in the past. They danced to their favorite song. We added ed to the verb dance to show that it happened in the past. Again. And not all action verbs like to follow the rules when we talk in the past. So that means not all verbs we can add ed to show that they are in the past. For example, we say, he slept for 9 hours. For the verb sleep, I don't add ed like I do with other verbs. I change it completely and say slept. Another example is the verb eat. I say the girl ate her dinner, not eated. Present tense means it is happening now. Depending on the subject in the sentence, I either add s or es, or I just keep the verb as is. The cat scratches the chair. She writes in her journal. My sister cooks dinner. For all these examples, we added s or es to the verb because the subject in the sentence is singular. They look for clues. We dance together. For both verbs, we did not add s or es. We left them as is because the subjects in both sentences are plural. Future tense means will happen, and in that case, we add the word will before the verb. It will rain tomorrow. She will read the last chapter. We will eat the whole pizza pie. They will find the missing ring. For all these examples, it shows that it will happen in the future. So far, we learned that we have 3 verb tenses. Past tense means it already happened. The present tense means it is happening now. And the future tense means that it will happen. Thanks for watching.
Okay, so this whole week, we are going to be talking about verb tenses. So all week we'll be talking about verb tense. V-E-R-B space T-E-N-S-E. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about present tense. Wednesday, we'll talk about past and future tense. So you should have the title of today's notes, verb tense, colon, those are the 2 dots, present tense. And then today's date, January 25th. So first of all, what is video that verb tense tells when an action happens. Ouch. Okay. So verb tense tells us when an action happened. Does every sentence say exactly when it happened? Like, does it say, I will do my homework tonight? Do we always have a word that means when in a sentence? Do we have to have a word that means when in a sentence? We don't. But sometimes we need to know when a sentence happened. Well, in that case, if we have no word that says when, we can look at the verb. The verb tense, the way the verb is written, will tell us when it happened. There are 3 basic tenses. Now we can go a little bit more in depth, but we won't go in depth this year. Maybe next year or in middle school or even in high school. We're just going to learn about the 3 basic tenses, which you might have already talked about a little bit in the past, but we're just going to go a little more in depth than you did before. Who remembers from the video what one of the 3 basic tenses are? Mason. Future. There's future tense, which means when did the verb happen? If something is written in future tense, when did the action happen? Mason?
It will happen.
It will happen. It hasn't happened yet. It didn't happen in the past, but it will happen. What's another one? Victoria? Past. If a verb is written in past tense, when did it happen? It already happened. And the last one. Smith.
Present.
Present. So if a verb is written in present tense, when did the action happen?
It is happening.
It's happening now. Today's focus will be present tense, because present tense is really when it changes the most. We've actually already talked about this. So some of today's lesson is just going to be a review from the last time we talked about verbs. Remember we talked about subject-verb agreement? That only happens in the present tense. So first we'll talk about a new thing that we haven't talked about with present tense. Then we'll just write a few quick notes as a review of what we already know about subject-verb agreement. But it always helps to write it again, because the more you write it, the more you say it, the more you hear it, the more you do what? Michaela? Remember it. Okay. So, brand new information. Put like a line or two between. So go like a line or two, maybe even 3 if you're feeling crazy. And we're going to put our pink line, our dot, our bullet point, right before the pink line. Remember, do you notice how this bullet point lines up with this bullet point? And remember I say to do it where the pink line is? And then we put a space, like an indentation, and then I have my dash. Copy it just the way I do so that when you're looking through your notes quickly, you know, okay, this goes with this. This isn't brand new information, this fits with this, okay? That's why we do that. So now we're starting brand new information. But we know it all has to do with this, so this is just kind of by itself at the top. Okay. We're going to start with a sentence. A present tense, which you may see sometimes with a dash between, you may not. It just depends on how the person writing it, what they learned. A present tense verb shows that the action is happening now. Oops, forgot my period. Is a sentence without end punctuation? No. So a present tense verb shows that the action is happening now. Oops, I forgot. No period. Or happens over and over. So a present tense verb either shows that the action is happening right now or happens over and over. Now you may be thinking, what do you mean happens over and over? Well, the sky is blue. Is that just happening right now? I mean, we know, even though there's clouds in the way, what color is the sky? Is the sky purple? Is the sky green? No, it's what color, class?
Blue.
Blue. Azul in Spanish. Blue. Does that mean if I say the sky is blue, does that mean it's only happening right now? No, it happens over and over and over forever. It never stops. So that's what they mean by it either is happening now, like the example I'm about to write, or it happens over and over and over. Like we know the sky is blue now, tomorrow, tonight, yesterday, forever. Always, over and over. I don't have to say the sky will be blue because it just is blue. I can use the present tense. I know that sometimes it looks gray or orange or whatever, but what color is the sky actually? Blue. Okay, so here's an example of a present tense verb. I mean, a sentence with the verb in the present tense. Thomas looks at the gray sky. What is the verb in that sentence? Give everybody a chance to finish writing it. Thomas looks at the gray sky. What is the verb in that sentence? Or if you know, you can write with one hand and raise your hand with the other. Carla?
Gray sky.
Is gray sky a verb? Is that an action? Is that something that we can do or someone can be?
Look.
Looks. Looks. What is the base verb? That means the verb with nothing else attached to it. No other letters attached to it. Michaela? Look. Why did we add an S? We know it's happening now, but why did we add an S? Think about the video and think about what we learned the week before last about subject-verb agreement. We know it's in present tense. We can read this sentence and know it's happening right now. We know it didn't. The sentence writer is not trying to say it already happened. They're not trying to say it's going to happen tomorrow. Why did we add that S to the end of look? Why didn't we just leave it as look? Victoria. Well, yeah, we know it doesn't sound right. Thomas, look at the gray sky. Well, but I have to know why. I can't just know that it doesn't sound right. I have to know why did we add the S? Zari.
Then it would have been present tense.
No? Hold on. Remember, what's our subject here in this sentence? Who or what is this sentence about? Mason. Thomas. So Thomas is our subject. Is Thomas singular or plural? Zari.
Plural.
Guys, come on. I can't keep going over vocab over and over and over and over again. What does singular mean? Kingston, what does singular mean? There's only one. Kingston, what does plural mean? There's more than one, multiple. Thomas, is that one person or is that more than one person? Place, thing, or idea. Smith.
It's one person.
It's one person. So, is Thomas singular or plural, Smith?
Singular.
Singular. Now, look at your subject-verb agreement notes. If we have a singular subject, what does that mean we do to the verb?
We add an S.
We add an S or an ES if it ends with S, X, Z, CH, or SH. Because we know verbs in the present tense follow the same rules as singular and plural nouns. But it's just opposite in our head because we know singular nouns, we add an S. But singular nouns, we don't add an S. But it's opposite because singular verbs, Colin? We do add S. So that's the only thing that's opposite. Everything else works like singular and plural nouns. When you add an S, you do all that stuff. Okay. So we know singular subjects, you do what to the verb? If the subject is singular, what do you do to the verb in the present tense? Zari.
Add S or ES.
Add S or ES, depending on the ending of the verb. Well, plural subjects. If the subject is plural, what do you do to the verb? Thank you, Zari, but let's see if everybody has the ability to find this answer. If it's a plural subject, what do you do to the verb? Carla?
Add ES.
The singular subject, if the subject is singular, you add S or ES to the verb. But if the subject is plural, what do you do to the verb? Kingston? You keep it the same. Do you add anything, Kingston? No. Come on, guys. It's in your notes. It's on the page before. You can find it if you set things up and you actually look instead of just waiting for somebody else and just like barely glance, like with your eyes glazed over at the page. If you actually look and skim it, you can find the answer. Now there's another way to make sure that the reader knows that your verb is in the present tense. So I'm going to erase this because I need space. There is another way to show the reader of your sentence that the action is happening now. So this is another way to write a present tense verb. So this is another way to write a present tense verb. I'm going to go over a little bit, and I'm going to tell you how. Put the helping verb be, which we'll learn more about later. You've probably already talked a little bit about be over the years, which doesn't always look like be. Because do I say, I be looking at the sky? No. Do I say I is looking at the sky? Do I say I are looking at the sky?
No.
What do I say? Victoria? Am. So that's one form of be. What about she be looking at the sky? Do I say that? Do I say she am looking at the sky? Do I say she are looking at the sky? What do I say? Zadie? She is looking at the sky. What if I'm talking about them? They be looking at the sky. Is that right? They is looking at the sky. They am looking at the sky. What do I say? Smith?
They are looking at
They
the sky.
are looking at the sky. So that's what it means by adding the helping verb be. I'm not actually going to add the word be. Pause. So this other way to write a present tense verb is first put the helping verb be, but are we actually going to write be? No, because that's not how we talk. Put the helping verb be before the base verb. That just means the verb with nothing else on it. Look, walk, sing, dance, draw, whatever. So put the helping verb be, either am, is, or are, before the base verb. Then add ing. Remember, if I have this dash before, it means we're adding the letters. Add the letters ing to the end of the base verb. Okay? So that's another way. Now I'm going to write an example. We know our regular example that we know already is Thomas looks at the sky. Well, we can also say Thomas is, we added that helping verb be, but the correct form, looking, we added ing to the end of our base verb, and then we add the rest of the sentence. Thomas is looking at the gray sky. So you see, both of those sentences mean that they're happening right now, right? Thomas looks at the sky. Thomas is looking at the sky. Both of those sentences are happening right now, right? They didn't happen yesterday. They're not happening this evening. Eyes up here. Nobody's responding at all. Please leave that alone. We know they didn't happen yesterday. They didn't happen earlier this morning. They're not happening tonight or tomorrow or next week. Both of those situations, both of those actions are happening right now. Thomas looks at the gray sky. Thomas is looking at the gray sky. So those are two ways to show a present tense verb. Now that's the brand new way. I'll give you a second to finish writing that, and then we're just going to write a few quick notes as a reminder to ourselves of the way we already know. Yes, Kingston.
What can I do about like this?
No, you can just. Okay, so that's a way we don't know yet. Well, let's do a quick review on what we learned last week. Now we know. Doesn't matter. Well, I'm not going to say that because you don't know that for sure. But what we learned last week, subject-verb agreement, really only matters in the present tense. So, bye, Michaela. Hope you feel better.
Okay.
Hope we'll see you tomorrow. So, let's do a quick subject, verb, agreement, review. Subject, verb, agreement, review. Because we know subject, verb, agreement really only matters in the present tense. Past and future tense, you'll find out we don't have to make the verbs and the subject agree. The verb in the past tense is just, all you do is add ed. You don't add sed, you don't add eds. So, subject, verb, agreement, review matters today because we only have to worry about it in the present tense. So, for a singular subject, if the subject is singular, what do we do to the verb? If the subject is singular, what do we do to the verb? Zari.
Add s or es.
Add s or es. Remember, we don't say, I read that book. Wait, no, I'm sorry. Hold on. We don't say, she read that book. We say what? Mason.
She read that book?
We're talking about right now. That would mean it already happened. But she's doing it right now. Zadie?
She's reading that book.
But you added is. That's the way we would do that before. She is reading the book. But this way, what do? Do we say she read that book? Smith.
We say she reads the book.
She reads the book. She is only one person. Otherwise, we would say they or those girls or something like that. But she is only one person. So we add S or ES. We don't say she read that book. We don't say she walk her dog. We say she reads that book or she walks her dog. Zari eat bread. I sound like a caveman, don't I? But if I say Zari eats bread, do I sound like a caveman anymore? No, it sounds like a real sentence like we would say now in 2021. Okay, what about a plural subject? What do we do to the verb if the subject is plural and we're not doing the is reading or something like that? Smith.
We don't add S.
So add nothing. Leave it alone. If it is a plural subject, we leave it alone. Does it sound correct to say, those girls reads the books? What do we say? Victoria. This is the sentence I said. Those girls reads the book. But we're not adding. We're just using this. It does not matter. Guys, come on. We already talked about the is or are and adding ing. Now we're talking about how when we don't add ing. We don't say those girls reads the books. We say what? Zadie.
Those girls read the book.
Those girls read the book. There are two different ways to say things. Yes, we did talk about how to change it with adding ing to the end, adding the helping verb be, the correct form, and then adding ing to the end. But now we're talking about if we don't do that. Because we wouldn't say Zadie reads the book. Do we say that? Zadie reads the book. No, we either say Zadie is reading the book or we say Zadie reads the book. We don't say those girls read the book. We either say those girls read the books or those girls are reading the books. You can't mix them up. Who remembers this? If the subject is I or you, do you add S or do you leave it alone? Think about it in your head. If the subject is I or you, do you add S or ES to the verb? Or do you not? Do you add nothing and leave it alone? Zadie.
You add nothing and leave it alone.
Add nothing. Good. Because if I said, I reads the book. Does that sound right? I reads the book to you guys. No, what do I say? Cullen?
I read the book.
I read the book. Or I can say I am reading, but even though I means how many people? I means how many people? Is I singular or plural? Mason? Singular. And usually we add S or ES. I is different. Same with you. Now, I could be saying you as in Cullen, which would be singular, or I could be saying you as in all of you guys sitting in front of me right now, which would be plural. It doesn't matter. Whether you is singular or plural, you add nothing. So I and you are the only singular nouns or pronouns that you would not add an S to. That's just because that's how we speak. Okay. Now everybody should have that. If you follow how I write it, it should be neat and easy to read. Now we're going to do the guided practice. Use this to help you because even though we've only talked about present tense today, our guided practice does have a little bit of all of it. Your independent practice will only be on present tense verbs. Guided practice has a little bit of all of it, but it's because we're almost creating our own extra anchor chart with our guided practice. So while we're doing our guided practice, you can cover your notes with your anchor chart. Because for the guided practice, we're mostly going to be using our anchor chart. But for the independent practice, you'll be using your notes. Does everybody understand? So you don't need your notes right this second, but don't put them away because for the independent practice, you will. For the independent practice, you won't really use your anchor chart today. Independent practice, you'll use your notes. Did it turn off? Yes. Try to save time. Oh, I have to get it up on my computer anyway. So for your guided practice, you'll use the anchor chart. For your independent practice, which will probably become homework / work, extra work during the day tomorrow, like sometimes happens, morning work, whatever, you'll use your notes. So everybody should be looking at this side of the guided practice. You'll see it has GP1 in the top left corner. And what we have is we have a very large word bank. We're going to sort these words in the word bank. We have to write each word or phrase from the word bank into the proper column below. So we have a column for past tense verbs, a column for present tense verbs, and a column for future tense verbs. So now, we're going to have to look at the end of each verb. If the end of the verb, if the verb ends in ing, what tense is that verb? If the verb ends in ing, what tense is that verb? Smith.
Present.
Present. If the verb ends in s, what tense is that verb? Kingston. Look at your anchor chart and also think about what we know. The anchor chart tells us ing are present tense. But what we know tells us that verbs that end in s are what tense? Cullen.
Future.
Not future. Come on, guys. We spent like last week, 2 weeks ago, and then we just did this in our notes. If a verb ends in s, what tense is it? Zari.
Present.
Present, because we know if it's a singular subject with a present tense verb, we add what to it? Class.
S or
S
ES.
or ES. If a verb ends in ED, what tense is it? Aaron. Past. If a verb ends with nothing, but has the word will before it, what tense is it? Zadie.
Future.
Future. What if the verb has nothing at the end of it and no word at the beginning? What tense is it? Ethan? Present. That means it would be a plural subject with a singular verb. So let's go through and choose. Look at the ending. The ending will tell you which verb it is. If there's nothing at the end, then you need to look if there's a word before. Running. Aaron, what tense is the word running? Past, present, or future? Present. Ooh, let's see. Carla, will kick. What tense is will kick? I can't hear you. You muted yourself too quickly.
Future.
Future, because it has nothing at the end and it has that word will before. Zadie, baked. What tense is baked? Past, present, or future? Past. How do you know?
Because it has ED.
It ends with ed. Mason, listening. Is it past, present, or future tense?
Present.
Present. How do you know?
Because it has an ING.
It ends in ing. that past, present, or future? Think of when you would use the word sat in a sentence.
Past.
Past. Good. Hey, that didn't have an ED. Oops. I've been writing the wrong thing. I meant to write, Zadie, you had baked. And Smith, you had sat. So make sure you didn't accidentally copy me and write past. Make sure that you wrote baked and sat. Smith, how did you know that sat was past tense? It doesn't have ED.
Because I tried using it in a sentence.
What would sat be in present tense?
Sitting.
Sit or sitting. Good. So remember in the video we learned that some verbs don't follow the rules in the past tense. Those are called irregular verbs. We'll see like a couple of them today, but we're not really going to talk about them until like several weeks from now. It's like the last chapter in the unit on verbs. But we will see a couple of them on this sheet. You won't see them anywhere else this week, okay? Does everybody understand? Okay. Good, Smith. Let's see next. Ooh, Victoria ran. Now, I don't see an ED. If I added S to the end, that's not a word. What tense is ran in? Think of it in a sentence. Is it past, present, or future? Past. How did you know that?
Because if I use it in a sentence, Olivia ran 10 miles. It's in the past.
What's the present tense form of ran?
Run. Run.
Run or running. Good. Okay, so that's another one. Ethan will dance. Is that past, present, or future? How do you know? Because it has will before it. Kingston, baking. Past, present, or future? Present. How do you know? It ends in ing. Oop, Michaela's money. Zari kicked.
Past.
Past. How do you know?
It ends with ed.
It ends with ed. Colin yelled.
Past.
Past. How do you know?
Because it ends in ed.
It ends in ed. Oops. This one. Smith will jump.
Future.
Future. How do you know?
Because it has the word will before it.
Because it has the word will. Victoria, sitting. Present. How do you know?
It ends in ing.
It ends in ing. I also noticed there's an extra T. Because I know the base word is sit, which is spelled S-I-T. Maybe I should keep that in mind for irregular verbs. Aaron, learning. Present. How do you know? Because it has ing at the end. If you're humming, please stop. Carla will bake.
Will bake will go in the future because it has will in front of it.
Good. Colin will fly.
Future.
Future. How do you know?
Because will is in the front.
Zari kept. I don't see ing. I don't see ed. And I don't see will. So that means we need to think of it in a sentence. And then think, when did that sentence happen? In the past? In the future or right now?
Kept will be in the present tense.
So use it in a sentence. What if I said she kept her house clean? When did that happen? Past, present, or future? She kept her house clean. Smith?
Past.
Past. It means she already happened. What's the present tense? What's the base verb for kept? Zari?
Keep.
Keep. So she is keeping her house clean. She will keep her house clean. She kept her house clean. So Zari, where does kept go?
In the past.
In the
tense.
past. So that's another one of those irregular verbs. And last one, Ethan, jumping, past, present, or future? Present, how do you know? Because of the ing at the end. Okay, now let's do the bottom.
There's
Yes.
still one more.
Oh, whoops. Last one. Mason, will sit. Future, how do you know? Because it has will at the beginning. Okay, now let's look at part B. Should we do the same thing here? How do we know we're not doing the same exact thing here? Zadie.
Because
There's new directions. Every time there's new directions, should you ignore them and just keep doing what you've been doing? No, read them. It says, write each word in the correct verb tense. Ooh, so they're just giving us verbs. And we have to figure out how do we write them. Okay, walk. Kingston. How do I say walk in the past tense? Spell it. Good. W-A-L-K-E-D. We add ed to the end. What about in the present? How do we show that it's happening now, Kingston? W-A-L-K-I-N-G. They walked yesterday. They are walking today. What about tomorrow? What will they do? Will walk. They will walk tomorrow. Ooh. We're going to skip hop. I'll do that later because that is a slightly irregular. It's not quite irregular, but it's something we'll talk about. Zadie, talk. How do we write that in past tense? T-A-L-K-E-D. They talked yesterday. What about today? What about right now? Talking. They are talking right now. What about tomorrow?
They will talk.
Will talk. They will talk tomorrow. Twirl. Oops. Well, Kingston, you already got to do one of these, though. Mason, twirl. What did they do yesterday? Twirled. Spell it.
T-W-I-R-L-E-D.
They twirled on the dance floor yesterday. What about right now?
T-W-I-R-L-I-N-G.
They are twirling on the dance floor right now. What about tomorrow?
T-W-I-R-L. No. W-I-L-L. T-W-I-L-L.
Good. They will twirl on the dance floor tomorrow. Now, hop and sleep is different. Who thinks that they can do sleep? I'm going to do hop because it's just funny. It's just a weird one. It actually changes in past and present, but not much. I'll pick a stick. Keep your hand up if you think you can do sleep. Smith. What did they do yesterday in the bed?
They slept.
Slept. How do we spell that?
S-L-E-P-T.
S-L-E-P-T. They slept in the bed yesterday. What are they doing right now?
Sleeping.
They are sleeping in the bed today. What will they do tomorrow?
They will sleep.
They will sleep in the bed tomorrow. So notice, sleep only changes in what tense, Smith?
Past tense.
Past. In present and future, it's exactly the same as what we would think. Just the past tense. So most of the time, irregular verbs only change in the past tense. Now, this is something we're going to talk about later, I think. I think we do that this year in 4th grade. H-O-P. The last 2 letters are vowel consonant. If a verb ends with vowel consonant, you double the consonant before you add the ending. So that means past tense would be H-O-P, but then before I add a different ending, I have to double the consonant. Is O the consonant or is P the consonant? Cullen.
P.
P. Then I add the regular ending. So instead of H-O-P-E-D, it looks like this. What is this word right here? It's not hopped. Zadie? Hoped. It means I hoped I would get a new puppy for Christmas. So this is not hopped. This is hoped. That's why some words, when they end with vowel consonant, you have to double the consonant and then add the ending. Same with the present tense. I'm going to write hop, but I'm adding a new ending, right? So I have to double the consonant and add ing. Otherwise, I have this word, which is what? Colin?
Hoping.
Hoping, not hopping. Hopping has 2 P's, hopped has 2 P's, hoped has 1 P, hoping has 1 P. And then in the future, do I add an ending to hop? Do I add something to hop at the end in the future tense? No. So do I have to double the P? No, because I didn't add anything. I don't do this. Only if I'm adding an ending do I double the consonant. Okay, we'll talk about that. I think we talked about that in irregular verbs. I don't know. If not, whatever. Okay, so we don't have time for independent practice, but I want to show it to you. We're going to go over it really quick. You guided practice. It says GP2 up at the top, in the top left corner. Now, what we have to do is we have to figure out when it happened. So first, we have to find the verb and then say, okay, is it in past tense, present tense, or future tense? And then find the word that tells when. So number 1, my dog barked. Zadie, what's the verb? Barked. Is barked past, present, or future tense? Past, because it has what? ED. Which means, which sounds better? My dog barked last night. My dog barked tomorrow.
My dog barked
Last night, because last night means it already happened. Has tomorrow happened yet, Zadie? No, so it can't be that. Number 2, the girl will be here. Victoria, what's the verb here? Will be. Now, will be, is that past, present, or future tense? Future, how do you know? Because it has will. Very good. Remember, be is a verb. It's not necessarily an action, but it is a verb. We already know that because our notes said to add the helping verb be. Okay. Victoria, will the girl be here tomorrow or will the girl be here last night? Tomorrow, because tomorrow is in the future. Last night already happened. So last night is in the past, present, or future? Past. Number 3, I open the door. Zari, what's the verb?
Opened.
Opened. Is opened past, present, or future tense? Zari? do you know?
Because it has ed at the
Because it
end.
ends in ed. So, Zari, I open the door next week, or I opened the door this morning?
I opened the door this morning.
Good, because when does next week happen? In the past, present, or future?
Future.
And when did this morning happen? Past, present, or future?
Past.
Past. Number 4, I am eating lunch. Aaron, what's the verb? Just eating? Think about our rules. Who can help her out? Colin?
Am eating.
Am eating. Do you see why it's am eating, Aaron, and not just eating? Because would we say I eating lunch? Does that make sense, Aaron? No, we have to have that word am. So am is part of our verb. So what's the verb, Aaron? Am eating. And is that past, present, or future tense? Present. How do you know? The ing. What else? Am. Am at the beginning, ing. So, Aaron, I am eating lunch yesterday, or I am eating lunch now? Now, because when is now happening?
Right.
In the present. And yesterday happened in the past. Number 5, she will be at the party. Carla, what's the verb? Now this is where you can get a hint from something we've already seen.
Party.
Not party.
I mean she.
Nope, not she.
Will.
But not just will. Will is part of it.
Be.
Mason, can you help her out?
She will be.
Was she the verb? Colin?
Will be.
Will be. You can't include she because she is not a verb. She is the subject, the noun or pronoun. Will be is the verb. Look, Zari already told us that will be is a verb. Carla, will be is it in what tense? Past, present, future.
Future.
How do you know?
Because will is in front of be.
Because will is in front of be. Remember, be is a verb. It's not an action, it's a stative verb or a being verb. You learned about those in the past. I know that because Miss Breckenridge and I were literally talking about that earlier, about how they just started talking about that in first grade, about being verbs. So, Carla, she will be at the party Saturday or she will be at the party yesterday?
Saturday.
Saturday, because when does Saturday happen? In the past, present, or future?
Future.
And when did yesterday happen? Past, present, or future?
Future. I mean, past.
Past. Number 6, a bug crawled on my foot. Ethan, what's the verb? Crawled. Is crawled past, present, or future tense? Past. How do you know? Because it ends in ed. So, Ethan, a bug crawled on my foot yesterday or a bug crawled on my foot tomorrow? Yesterday, because when did yesterday happen? Past, present, or future? And when will tomorrow happen? In the future. Number 7, and then we'll do science. I'll pass out your independent practice and talk about it really quick. And then we'll do science. Number 7, you are listening. Zari, what's the verb?
Listening.
Just listening? Can I say?
Are listening.
Can I say you listening? What do I have to say?
You have to say you are listening.
So what is the whole verb, Zari?
Are listening.
Are listening. I just wanted to make sure you weren't going to tell me you are listening, because is you part of the verb class?
No.
No, it's a
No.
subject, so it's a noun or pronoun. Okay, Zari. Are listening, is that past, present, or future tense?
That's now. Well, that's present.
Present tense. Good. Yes, it is now, but when we're saying tense, we have to say present because there's no such thing as now tense. Present tense. How do you know, Zari?
It has ing at the end.
And what else tells you it's present? Because we can't just add ing.
And there's a word before it.
But there's a word before this. Why isn't that in the present? What word? It has to be a form of what word in order for it to be present? Who can help her out? What form, what word does it have to be a form of? Zadie?
It has to be one of the.
Smith?
A form of a B word.
A form of be. But remember, we don't say I be doing something, or we say I am, or you are, or you, or they, I'm sorry, she is. Okay, Zari. So are and ing tell us it's in the present. Well, you are listening tomorrow night, or you are listening now, Zari?
You are listening now.
Now. Because we know when did tomorrow night happen? In the
Past.
and when is now happening? In the
Present.
present. Last one, Kingston. My cousin coughed. What's the verb? Coughed. Past, present, or future? How do you know? Because there's ed at the end. So, my cousin coughed all morning, or my cousin coughed next week? All morning, because when did all morning happen? Past, present, or future? And when will next week happen? In the future. Okay. So now, girls at home, let's see. Everybody, you're still going to take these home. Well, no. Go ahead, actually. Put both of those, your anchor chart and your guided practice, in the grammar side of your writer's workshop. Please do not put it in the writing side of writer's workshop. Put it in the grammar side. Girls at home, as soon as you've put that away, get out your independent practice. Everybody should be looking at the independent practice. It has IP in the top right corner, IP1, and then IP2 on the back. So which page is the front? Where should your name, number, and date go? IP1 or IP2? Cullen?
IP1.
IP1. Okay, look at the front page. It says, most of the time, the present tense of an action verb is the root word of the verb. That means the verb with no S or no ending. If the subject is a singular noun, or the pronoun he, she, or it, because those are singular. If I say he, how many boys do I mean? Mason. If I say she, how many girls do I mean? Zadie. If I say it, how many objects do I mean? Colin? One. So if the subject is singular, period, add s or es to the end of the verb. If the subject is plural, or I or you, what do you add to the end of the verb? If the subject is plural, or the subject is I, or the subject is you, what do you add to the end of the verb? Smith?
Nothing.
Nothing. So, the first part says circle the action verb that completes the sentence. So there you have three options. You need to circle the one that is correct. Is it the base word all by itself, like paint? Is it the base verb with an S at the end? Or is it the base verb with an ES? So pay close attention. Think of the endings to those words. Then at the bottom, it says complete the sentence using the correct action verb. So here, for number one, they did it for you. Jerry, Hannah, and Irene, they picked right instead of writes because how many people is Jerry, Hannah, and Irene? Carla?
3.
3, so that's a plural subject. Do we add anything to the verbs that go with plural subjects? No. And then they finished it, so they added an interesting thing. Jerry, Hannah, and Irene write a story. So don't just write the word because that's boring. Jerry, Hannah, and Irene write. Well, write what? You can just add something quick. So you do that. You have to follow the directions. On the back. So on the front, we use the S, ES, or no ending. On the back, we will be using the be. The correct form of be is it is, are, am, and then adding ing to the end. So they have an example. It says directions. Complete each sentence below with the present tense form of the verb in parentheses. Remember, you're adding the correct form of be. Are you adding is, am, or are? And then adding ing to the end of the verb. So on the back, are you just changing it by adding s, es, or nothing at all to the verb? No, remember. Follow, look at the example. So on the front, you're fixing it by adding s, es, or nothing. On the back, you're adding the correct form of the verb be, which means do you add is, do you add are, do you add am, and then adding ing to the end. So do not do the same thing on both sides. You're not adding es or adding nothing to both sides. Does everybody understand how you're showing two different ways of doing plural nouns? I'm sorry, of doing present tense verbs. On the front, you are adding s, es, or nothing. On the back, you're adding ing to the end and the correct form of the verb be at the beginning. Okay, go ahead and put that in return to school. You don't need your anchor chart for this, but you will need your notes. Then go ahead and get ready for science.